So I'm really struck by something you said recently. And what's the quote? Data is the currency in software's new world order. Tell us what you really mean by that.
Well, what I really mean by that is we're just we're in an incredible time. You see it in what all of our customers are doing, which they're building these incredible smart things, we call them, right? It's not just an Internet of Things, it's an Internet of very smart things. There's 75 billion, of these smart things that are either out there or about to be out there. And it's a highly diversified approach. It's amazing. It's everything from, I love this Fitbit watch that's like tracking all of this stuff. And or I just bought this new 740 BMW. It's all hooked up, it's all connected to me, into the dealer, into the factory. Or, my phone.
BMW is a sponsor here, by the way. So
I love BMW. They're a good customer of ours.
So go on.
Also, you look at all the apps I have on my phone as well. But the thing that I think that's important, and kind of to your point on, is this: behind all of these things, behind all these smart things, is your customer.
Right.
And like we were talking backstage, that's Salesforce's mission, which is to be the customer company, to be the we're the fastest growing of the top 10 software companies. But the key thing is we're the only one focused on 100% on customer relationships.
Okay, but back to the data point. Are we undervaluing the data that we're collecting? And I'll get to that as it relates to Twitter and LinkedIn. But you seem to be, from a strategic standpoint, saying, I need more data to do more for the customers I serve.
Well, I didn't say that, but other companies are trying to do that. But we have, our customers are all in one integrated customer engagement platform. That's the power of Salesforce.
Okay.
And that customer engagement platform is connecting to 1 billion customers on the planet, and we're serving hundreds of thousands of companies who are connecting to those 1 billion customers, and they have a huge amount of data in our platform.
Right.
So we have to provide tools that give them the ability to make sense of that data, to action it, to make it, like you were saying, as we were saying back on the stage, smarter, more intelligent, more make it go faster for them.
Right.
Give them the ability to be more productive in their enterprise.
So LinkedIn, you were quite publicly a bidder for that. You lost out to Microsoft. So tell us, when you maybe sat with your board and you said, guys, we got to spend a lot of money on this thing.
Right. Well, what was
the vision?
Well, our vision for LinkedIn was, I think, very different than Microsoft's. We really liked some of the business fundamentals. And I said this recently in a stockholder meeting, that the reason that I liked LinkedIn was I liked the business architecture. I am a student and somebody who really appreciates different business models. And our business model, there is a shell of it inside LinkedIn that we would have amplified around deferred revenue. And that's what I was really excited about, that I could see right away I can provide immediate value to our shareholders by acquiring it. That's different than what Microsoft is saying now that they bought LinkedIn. They are saying that they're going to commingle their data stream and LinkedIn's data stream. What they specifically said was they're going to create a product that will create a barrier to entry for other companies. I don't know if that's true or not, but at the Deutsche Bank conference, Scott Guthrie, who's the executive responsible, said he's going to create a competitive barrier to entry. And that's when I said, well, hold on, the last time I checked, that was illegal, so somebody should at least look at that.
Right. And you filed a complaint, I believe, in Europe on that topic, right?
We've made it known that not just us, we've been joined by dozens of other software companies, including Oracle, Larry Ellison, Infor, Chuck Phillips, and others, including European software companies, who have said, hey, if you're going to do that. All of this came out of their Deutsche Bank transcript, and if you haven't read it, you should read it. Nobody was alarmed by what was going on.
You're saying we should be alarmed. And so do you think you have any chance of stopping it? I mean, do you think the government understands the nuances you're describing?
Well, I think that the European government and the European regulator and the competition commissioner has said that they are extremely sensitive to how companies are using data, especially in Europe. And specifically to Microsoft and LinkedIn, the comments that they've made is that they're going to use their data as a competitive weapon against other software companies. Now, that's fine for most companies to say, but when you're the largest software company in the world, which is Microsoft, you're different. You have to be treated differently. You know that they have had issues They've had a consent decree.
Yes, they have. Right.
So, you have to take that at face value, what they're saying. And I think other software leaders are doing that.
Okay, I know you're upset that your interest in Twitter leaked. You've talked about it some. If you had to describe your vision for how that might have fit in, and your shareholders didn't like it, that's fine. But there was obviously something there, right? There was some edge there that you appreciated.
I think that this has been a really interesting, couple months in terms of, we obviously have a very exciting vision of what we would do with Twitter. And that's why we were involved in that. But, when the shareholders, we didn't realize, we have looked at hundreds of companies.
Right.
And we have done about 40 acquisitions. And we've never had a deal leak before. So we don't really understand that dynamic. And all of a sudden the deal leaked and the stockholders are like, hold on, we like what's going on with Salesforce. We like your core. What are you doing? Stop.
Right.
We have to stop. Because I'm running the business in partnership with my shareholders. And just as I would with by the way, when my employees ask me to stop something, I'll stop doing or start something. Customers, partners. It's a collaborative effort.
So give us just a little flavor of what a Salesforce Twitter thing would have been, hypothetically.
Well, it's meaningless to talk about it because I don't want to inflame the shareholders.
Right.
The shareholders say,
hey, you're saying you're done, that's fine.
No, I can let something go.
Yeah.
If the shareholders say let it go, I'm like, I agree, let it go.
Right, okay. You obviously...
It's not my company, right? It's all of our stakeholders.
Okay.
It's our shareholders, our customers, our employees, our partners. I'm just a facilitator. And yes, I can have an idea or I can have a vision or I can see something. It doesn't mean that we're going to do it. It has to be a collaborative effort running a company. That is the new world, by the way. And if you aren't running your company in a collaborative way, you're going to get into trouble. And you see that actually with CEOs all over the place where they'll take a hard position against one of their key stakeholders. That's a mistake.
Absolutely.
I don't believe in that.
We'll get to that in a second. Your internal laundry was aired once again when the Colin Powell emails were made public. It was a story written about in the journal. And as much as I had kind of like a prurient interest in, wow, what goes on inside a company like Salesforce, there was something to me that felt kind of wrong. Like, I should not be reading these emails.
Right.
Obviously, I would
But you did.
But I did, right?
And you put them on the front page.
But I did.
So let's talk about that. No, it's a good point.
But we're at a unique point here, Mark, where it seems like anything you write in an email is fair game.
Look, at one level,
and that
you have to
seem
understand,
right.
I feel fine with it. And let me tell you, because, look, we obviously have nothing to hide because it's all in the public domain, number one. And number two, our most sensitive, most complex issues, sophisticated issues, where we're looking at everything that every employee has ever said, or every customer has ever said, or what our acquisition targets, they're all in the public domain.
Right.
So if you want to understand Salesforce, it's all right there on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And the reality is we run a very clean ship. And I think that's one of the reasons our stockholders actually were gladdened when they saw those documents. All of a sudden they said, wow, they actually have a really measured, thoughtful process around all these things. And you can see how we run a company. So at some level, I don't really have... I'm fine
But what about the privacy? Didn't you feel like, man, that just is wrong? Are you changing what you put in email?
Well, I think you've got to look at cybersecurity as a theme, and cybersecurity, unfortunately, in our world, is an oxymoron. I've been saying that for a number of years.
Have you changed, Mark, what you're willing to put in an email?
No, I am not. No, I
Nothing to hide.
I probably do have something to
Trade
hide,
secrets,
but
right?
Yeah, but I hope I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, at some level, I don't think that any of us, are safe from that type of opportunity. You see that,
and that's
across
what upset me of seeing Colin Powell's email.
I think it's just tuning you into reality that we were already all tuned into.
I'm just catching up.
You're the last one coming in.
I know. Okay, so speaking,
it's unprecedented for sure that a public company's director's emails are published on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Had it ever been done before?
I think it's probably
other than in a lawsuit or something like that.
It's probably been done. We're pretty good reporters, but I get your point. Not in the same way. Not in the same way. Okay, let's move to the future. And in a lot of ways, the future is AI. We heard Ginny Rometty talk about it. We heard Satya Nadella talk about it. You are putting AI directly into your products. It's called Einstein.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like
our whole industry is AI washed at this point. I mean, every executive has got their AI narrative, and that's very similar to like mobile. It's like everybody had to have their mobile narrative, everybody had to have their cloud narrative, everybody had to have their social narrative, and now everyone's got their AI narrative. And the reality is AI is an amazing technology, just like all these other technologies were. It's going to be transformational to our industry, just like all these other technologies. But you have to be ready to be able to say, what is your unique value proposition when it comes to this technology?
Right. And so give me your narrative.
Well, we have an amazing new platform called Salesforce Einstein that we just rolled out at our Dreamforce conference. And the power of Einstein is that it's built into our platform, into the core Salesforce platform, and it's built in declaratively. You know, for our customers, for our hundreds of thousands of customers, you know, some of them are programmers, but the vast majority of them are not programmers. They are low coders, no coders. They are people administering the Salesforce platform, millions of them all over the world. They want to be able to take the power of deep learning, machine intelligence, machine learning, AI, whatever, all aspects of it, and bring it in to their customer data and get these incredible insights out of their data.
Okay.
And be able to score leads or understand their customer information better.
Right.
And that's our job. Our job is to make it easy that anybody can do it. That's different. Yes, we'll have a programmatic approach like Microsoft has or IBM has.
Right.
But we will have a declarative approach, which is that when you buy Salesforce's apps, and this is what people saw at Dreamforce, that in the next version of Salesforce, it's all built in declaratively. And it's not just some AI junior. This is like the best AI in the industry. We've acquired a dozen incredible AI companies, and leaders like Richard Socher, who have been pioneers in deep learning, are part of our team and have made this accessible in a way that before it was not accessible.
So give the audience here, they got a pretty big technology budget. I'm sure a lot of them are Salesforce customers. So what's the one concrete thing that they will be able to do with Einstein that they could not do a year ago?
Well, it's going to give them, and I'm using it myself, it's going to give them very specific insights into where they are spending their money and how to get more out of their money.
Right. This terms
so
of
if you're
sales
investing in
dollars,
sales and service and marketing and customer communities and analytics and e-commerce, all of a sudden it's going to say, you know, you might want to shift just a little bit this way, or you might want to go a little bit this way. We've pioneered for the last 2 years productivity with salespeople. That's been very exciting, where our platform will read your email, your calendars, your customer information, and say, hey, you didn't call that person back. Hey, you didn't follow up on that email. Or, hey, you're forecasting this opportunity at 80%, but the customer just said that they've delayed their budget.
And now would you say, would Einstein be able to say, hey, you need to call this person and don't waste your time on that person? Is that the next level?
We have that we have.
Right. So what's the next level? Take us to the next level, Mark.
The next level is something where, and we're using this internally and we're getting ready to roll it out to our customers, where we're able to look at your actual information, what has actually already happened, and say, let me tell you that if you don't close this month with this revenue number, you're not going to hit your revenue guidance for the year. Wow. And that, I think, is very important for CEOs and also for sales leaders. The reality is that sales leaders don't have very smart tools for making these decisions. And when you're forecasting and when you're forecasting your CEO and you're getting ready to give guidance, these tools are going to give you much greater clarity. And like I saw insights just in a meeting that I was in this week on Monday, where I can see how I run Salesforce will absolutely change.
So you spend a lot of time with salespeople. It's in your company's name. What's the most important or the vanguard of thinking about sales today? It's obviously a marriage, somewhat of human skill and technical help. But I think salespeople are largely forgotten in a lot of organizations, and they're just so darn critical to what they do. So if there's one insight that non-sales people can take away from you today, Mark, about what they need to think about sales, it is what?
Well, you've hit on a number of things. And, of course, when we talk about sales, we think about the whole customer life cycle and having a single view of the customer. That's number one. And number two is you hit on also that it's got to be more intelligent. It's got to be faster. It's got to be mobile. Okay, and it has to be also productive. And this is one of the reasons that we just bought this amazing company, Quip, which is this private company started by Brett Taylor, who did Google Maps and then went on to be the CTO of Facebook, and then 4 years ago started this amazing company. And this idea that we can be a lot more productive. You know, we've been kind of held back by the current generation of productivity tools, not just spreadsheets and word processors, but the ability really to have a deeply integrated productive environment
Right, but
in our core apps.
does this take a different personality type of the person who feels comfortable integrating with that?
No, this is, your modern worker who is coming out of college today with just a mobile phone and says, give me everything I need to be successful on my smartphone.
Right.
And they're going to go to the App Store or the Google Play Store. They're going to download Quip. They're going to be able to single sign on onto Salesforce's platform, and they're going to have the experience that they
So does it take less
demand.
skill then to be an effective salesperson today? Is the salesperson today basically an Uber driver with the computer telling it what to do?
I think you're touching on something for sure, that in a lot of these situations, you look at companies like Uber or you look at a company like Facebook, these are a model of how all workers should work. That is, if I'm a field service technician and I work for one of Salesforce's customers like Philips or General Electric, and one of these kind of Internet of Things goes down, some switch or power supply, and I'm getting dispatched, saying, you better go fix this and get this building back up. Well, that better look like an Uber of field service, and that's what Salesforce has delivered. That's our platform, and we learn from these consumer companies, and that's also why we want a leader like Brett Taylor on our team to help us, guide us, and lead us in that direction. But maybe we need
maybe the minimum viable necessity for a person even in a high-touch sales job. Maybe that's fallen. Would you agree with that or not?
No, I don't agree. I think that the way, when you look at you're kind of looking at, well, where is we going with artificial intelligence? Let's take a step back. One of the areas that I think is really exciting about artificial intelligence, where I've done a lot of personal work and also Salesforce work, is radiology. So, all of a sudden, here's radiology, and today when you buy a CT scanner from a Salesforce customer like a Siemens or a GE or a Philips, okay, that CT scanner today is dumb. We all have done that. We've seen it. We've either been in the hospital with our family member or we've had one ourselves, and all of a sudden they hit the switch, it scans you, and then bam, up comes the image on the screen. And then they call the radiologist, hey, come on in, we need you to read that scan. And hopefully you're in a world-class medical center like USC, the CEO of USC is there today, or UCSF back where I am in San Francisco, and the radiologist comes in who's top flight and says, I can see this, this, and this, everything's fine, or you have an issue here. Okay, now, that's great if you're in San Francisco or Los Angeles, but what if you're in a third world country? What if you're in the middle of our country where maybe there isn't a top radiologist at your disposal? What's going to happen? In that case, AI is going to start to augment this. So the CT scanner is no longer a dumb device. It becomes a smart device. It becomes a diagnostic device. And the new CT scanners, when you flip them on and you go through, before the radiologist has come into the room, it's already diagnosed you. It's already said, oh, you've got this specific issue, okay?
Right.
And because of this specific issue, we're now bringing in this specific radiologist to give us a...
And I know you're going to disagree with me what I'm going to say
and
here.
it brings up all level of care.
I know you're going to disagree with me, but maybe we just don't need doctors in the way we used to. Maybe the doctors really are just concierges for the machines.
Well, I don't completely agree, okay? But,
you don't completely disagree either.
No, you just made the same leap that you made with salespeople, okay? And I think
I love salespeople.
No, you're defaming the human being. And, there's a very good... there's a very good article recently on the cover of the FT. I'm sure you don't read it, but... on the cover of the FT, it had a study of traders, okay,
right,
and how traders who are augmented with artificial intelligence and kind of traders on their own, you probably saw it, and then it said that these traders kind of there's still an innate ability in human beings to synthesize information and work with others and work as a team and collaborate and share and also have an empathetic and compassionate response
right,
that you're not going to see from machines, or perhaps you're not going to see for a long time. So
maybe nurses are more important than doctors in the long run, because nurses...
No, I think that you're missing that intermediate step. Instead of jumping to the end of the story, let's look at where we are now, which is there's a partnership opportunity between smarter artificial intelligence-based technology like this next-gen CT scanner that I'm trying to show. So that scanner, here it is. Well, that scanner partnered with that top-flight radiologist, that's going to augment. Or if you think about ultrasound, and kind of now you see next-gen ultrasound just pops onto your cell phone for $25, and let's say you're in India and you're in the middle of the country and you're with an expected mother, and that maternal health of that mother, you want to understand what's going on right now with that with the status of that child. Right away, you're going to be able to take that ultrasound, at a very low-cost way. And then, yes, you can be able to augment it with the artificial intelligence and say, okay, now dispatch that patient to a hospital or not.
Pretty amazing. So
but
you're doing...
I'm not willing to take that last leap that you made.
Okay.
Even though I have seen the Terminator movies. So
right.
there are, there are some things that we should be looking out for.
Salesforce is doing so many things beyond sales. Would you ever consider changing the name? Why not call it Dreamforce? That seems like a good name.
Well, we have an opportunity in our marketing department, so you should come in and think about that.
So that's a no. You're sticking with Salesforce.
It's working. It's working.
Okay. All right.
What can I
Fair
say?
enough.
Look, and a lot of people ask me that question. The reality is, are we more than yes? We're sales, we're service, we're marketing, we're communities, we're analytics. We have this new e-commerce service that we just bought. We bought this company Demandware. It's got 320 million users. You have these incredible companies I've talked about in the back. Adidas and what they're doing. It's not exactly sales, but it is. That's. Are we more than when we started 17 years ago? Yes.
Absolutely.
But we're still...
You're happy with Salesforce.
It's working.
Okay. One big interest to you personally, professionally, is the notion of equality. And I think we all get a lot of what's being said about it. Here's the thing I think about when it comes to equality, which is that maybe the most important equality issue coming forward is the divide between those who program the machines and those who are programmed by them, as Marc Andreessen might say. Mm-hmm. You're in a very enviable place of programming them. Are we in a place where the riches and the spoils accrue basically to Silicon Valley, and the rest of the country sort of is left to cope with the effects of what's being created there? And is that the equality issue that's most important going forward?
Okay, well, the way I look at equality, and I appreciate the question, is equality is a multi-headed beast, okay? And if we're going to create more equality in the world, we have to think about equality in many different ways. We have to think about it with gender equality. That's why pay equity. We've got to pay women the same that we pay men. If we continue current pay practices, according to the World Economic Forum, we're not going to pay women the same as men for 170 years. That's unacceptable to me. So pay equity is important. Certainly, LGBTQ equality is very important. That's why we're willing to fight in Indiana or Georgia, or what's going on in North Carolina is probably going to cost the governor his job, okay? Racial equality. We see that in the United States, and certainly in the tech industry, our numbers are just too low, and I think a lot of tech CEOs like myself are doing something that I'm doing, which is hiring a chief equality officer, focus on this, let's get this behind us. This is something... And
is that person called a CEO? What's the...
Chief Equality Officer does stand for CEO.
CEOs, okay.
And then the other key thing is that, and I think to your point, is income inequality and skills inequality. And that's why, at our Dreamforce conference, and what I'm doing and what I encourage other CEOs to do is adopt public schools. Our public schools are one of the key ways that we're going to achieve greater equality. But if we continue to ignore our public schools, we're going to have a problem. And everyone in this audience, everyone who's watching us online, you, me, we all have to adopt a public school. We have to. We want to really challenge equality. We can't just delegate it off to the government or delegate it off to our city. We know that's not going to work. The public schools are very important, and Salesforce has adopted the San Francisco Unified School District and the Oakland Unified School District. We will, through our foundation, put hundreds of millions of dollars into the public school districts. We encourage other companies to adopt those schools in San Francisco and Oakland. Personally, I have adopted a school because I really, after I look at everything, and I have been all over the place on equality, is those K through 12 public schools, they need our attention, and they need them now.
But isn't the topic I raised distinct from whether people are well educated or not? That the idea that systems, largely mediated through Silicon Valley, whether it's ultrasound or oncological interpretation, that they will do much more and more of the work. Those who can program those systems will get the spoils from the hard work that they've created, and that a large number of people simply won't be able to share in the wealth that's being created by Silicon Valley. That's my worry. And people might well be educated, but there still might not be enough opportunity for them on the other end.
That for sure is one aspect of it, but if they aren't educated and they have not completed their K through 12 education and they dropped out in their middle school, then we are going to be in a much worse situation. And in San Francisco, which is one of the richest, most successful cities in this area, some of the things that have been happening in the public schools, we're doing a good job of helping turn those things around through focus. And I'm really optimistic, and I encourage our customers and our partners to work on that. The reality is we are moving into a new world, but I know that if you don't have the basis of education, you're not going to be
All right.
competitive.
Okay, we're totally out of time, but let's take questions if anyone's got questions. And then I got one last question for you. Last year, I think you meditated on stage here, which was pretty awesome. I won't ask that much, but let's take 2 questions. This gentleman here, please.
It seems to me that you are deciding how much of the bounty will go to the public, becomes a public good, and where it goes. You've decided schools and whatever amount you decided. Shouldn't that be a democratic decision that we all as a society make, how much of the bounty goes and where it goes?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the position of a public company CEO, our stakeholders are people like our employees, our customers, our partners, our community members, people like our superintendents of schools, our principals. And what I do as a public company CEO is I bring all of those stakeholders together and I make a decision with them. I'm not publicly elected as an official, as far as I know. I, basically serve at the will of my board of directors, and all my job is to create, number one, the best company that I can create, and number 2 is to use that company to improve the state of the world. I continue to believe that there's 2 kinds of CEOs: one that are committed to improving the state of the world, and those who are not. And what Salesforce wants to do is to make the world better, whether it has to do with public education or whether it has to do with LGBTQ rights or gender equity. And those are the things that our stakeholders are asking us to do.
Okay,
other CEOs may have other impacts from other stakeholders. And so, but I don't have a public vote like a public
okay.
official.
Second question, anyone
Thank
here?
you for the
Please,
question.
sir.
Hey, Mark. It's Stephen DeBerry from Bronze. I want to just say thank you for your personal leadership on these social issues. But that's you. That's you as an individual. And my question is, what are we seeing from Salesforce or technology in general that at a more macro level is going to accelerate the social progress that you're working on personally?
Yeah, can technology help in some way that it's not today?
Well, I think, and to hit the last question, the way I look at my own job and my own life is I'm just trying to be a role model. And as I've been, I started this company in 1999. Now we're going to do $10 billion in revenue next year. We have 25,000 employees. We'll have created 2 million jobs around the world by 2020. There's a lot of different ways to do that, I can tell you. I've seen it done a lot of different ways. I hope that we're doing it the right way. Maybe to the last question, everything that we're doing is not completely right, but we do our best. And what we want to do is influence and adjust and help inspire, educate other CEOs and other entrepreneurs to do it like that.
But is there anything in the technology? I think that's your question. Is there anything in the technology itself that does that?
I think that the way out of a lot of our problems is probably through technology, but not without the right value system and moral compass of these companies. Otherwise, then the technology is going to go very wrong.
Okay, last question. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll give it a try. So I think at your conference you had Tony Robbins speak to your one of your groups, and he went through this process where he asked people to make a sound to represent a company.
I don't make sounds.
Okay.
You
so
could go to the
I was
zoo
asking you.
and
I was
get
asking
sounds.
you
Yeah,
make a
okay.
sound of what Salesforce means to you, right? He asked what Apple, Microsoft, of the people in attendance.
I'm not
so
going to do,
I'm not
do that, but I will do something.
Right. Okay.
I will do the same exercise for you. So
Okay,
thank you for giving me the opportunity.
lead it.
Let me ask you a question. Based on your experience in the last 2 days in this conference, can you make a sound when I count to 3 of what this conference means
All right.
to you?
This is the ultimate vote.
The sound of this conference when I count to 3. You all ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
All
there you
right.
go.
That's a good way to end.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.